Hey everybody, following up on last week's video, let's talk about the importance of auditing your business, especially if you want it to remain sustainable. I'll talk about why I ended the pro group in my community, what changes I've seen in the podcast editing space over the last few years, and why it has me moving away from production services. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Jesse. I'm a podcast editor, engineer, and coach who I share my knowledge and experiences with you in hopes that it helps you learn something or become better at what you do. If you enjoy this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more content like this. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. As always, I encourage everyone to comment or ask questions down below. Now let's get on to the main topic. If you've made it this far, you're probably a podcast editor or a podcaster. I've been editing for nearly 5 years now, and I've seen a number of changes to the industry over that time, many of which I've seen in other industries that my wife and I have been involved in. And running a successful business requires us being able to look into the past, the now, and the future. I come from a manufacturing and maintenance background, so it's ingrained in me to always be assessing and looking for ways to improve things. And if something isn't working, decide if it's worth trying to fix or move on from. This is where I was a couple of months ago with the Pro Group community, which I started for podcast service providers. It was meant to be a place where me, Tara, and my sister could get together and help you with your business. Despite the value that we offer, I struggled to get the members to participate. I think somehow I missed the mark with my messaging, and I was attracting the wrong members. So I had some tough decisions to make. Do I try to make changes that will make it closer to what I wanted it to be, or do I close it down permanently? I made the tough call to close it down, not because I don't believe in it, because I do, but because the format was wrong. I was attracting the wrong audience. We'll still be here to help you solve your business problems, but we're going to do it with workshops and one-on-one or group trainings. We've already had success with our coaching and consulting clients, so this is where we will focus that time and energy. So if you're someone who wants to get help with your business, don't hesitate to reach out to me at tansiasteracademy.com/coaching. Let's take a look at the now and the future. I'm sure most of you by now have probably heard about this thing called AI, and you've probably heard of things like Descript, Riverside, and Podcastle. Most of you have probably heard of Fiverr and Upwork. Even though these are all completely different types of platforms, they are all impacting the podcast services space. I don't think they've quite disrupted things yet, but we're close. These platforms have already done one thing, though, that's impacting us. They've increased the competition. With AI-powered tools like noise and reverb reduction mixed with text-based editing, it's become much easier to produce decent-sounding podcasts with very little knowledge. All you need to know is how to use your mic and position it well enough to get usable recordings in an imperfect space. The argument I hear most often is that these AI-powered tools can't replace the quality that a skilled editor can deliver. While I do agree that an inexperienced podcast editor using Descript can't produce something on the level that I can, I don't think this is what we need to focus on. It's no different than the difference between a newish editor versus an experienced editor. What I'm more concerned with is the perceived value of the services we offer. A number of forces are reducing the perceived value of podcast production services. First, we have increased competition. Podcast editing and podcast management, they're no longer unique services that relatively few people provide. Next, we have sites like Fiverr and Upwork, which bring together all of this competition from all over the globe, meaning that podcasters can now go to one place and browse through thousands of editors at all different price points and to find the one that checks all the boxes for them. Those are the obvious forces. The last one is the not so obvious one, and it's platforms like Descript, Riverside, and Podcastle. If you read their websites, they're all diminishing the skill and experience required to edit podcasts well, essentially telling podcasters that they don't need us because AI can do that for you. All you have to do is edit text. We are now competing with not only other editors, but text-based editing software. You put all these things together, and we have a commodity. Podcasters can now shop based on price, and many won't hear enough of a difference between the high-priced editor and a cheaper one, especially if they have equal experience and skills. One of the things to be aware of is that this reality is going to hit those of us who are newer to the industry a lot faster than it will hit the more established editors. The established editors, they have a solid roster and won't be impacted at first. They may even be doing better right now as they've been able to upsell clients on video editing, but they will slowly start to feel this impact too. Let me tell you about a similar disruption we experienced in the web design world. Back then, and this is probably 2009, 2010, you could expect to pay $1,000 per page for a website. The first signs of change were WYSIWYG editors like Dreamweaver. Sure, the code was a mess, but it got the job done. But the true disruption came from WordPress 3.0, I think. We started seeing more sites built with WordPress, and all of a sudden we started seeing front-end builders for WordPress pop up that made it even easier to build on the platform. Fast forward to today, and there are countless options for building websites. How many of you built your own website? Did any of you hire someone to do it for you? I mean, you tell clients to hire you to save them time so they can focus on their content. But you didn't see the value in hiring someone to build your website so you could instead focus on running your business. This shows why we need to be wary of AI. There are still big budget website clients to be found, but those jobs tend to go to the bigger agencies. The smaller developers rely more on hosting and management services these days. I tell you this so you have an idea of what might be coming over the next few years. If you're offering podcast services to clients, now's the time to really think about how sustainable your business will be if you have to start dropping your rates and you struggle with lead generation. Jumping the curve. This is a concept I've talked about before and will continue to do so because it's such an important one. I learned it from Guy Kawasaki versus Via Christo. Guy had a TEDx talk called The Art of Innovation, and I'll link to it in the description. But he talks about, of all things, the ice business and how it's developed over time. One of the big key takeaways is that businesses fail to jump to the next curve because they define themselves by what they do rather than the value that they provide. Let that sink in for a minute. If you look at yourself as an audio podcast editor, you are probably learning how to edit video right now because you were slow to react. If you looked at yourself as someone who edits content for clients, you'd have seen the need to learn video editing 5 or 10 years ago and been ahead of that curve. We're now getting ready for the next curve, but what will that be? What skills should you be learning now so that you can jump on that curve when you see it? Me? I've been learning everything I can about video production, marketing, growth, and AI. I've been diversifying my revenue streams so I'm not fully dependent on production work. What about you? Do you worry about AI or how it will change things? Are you learning new skills? How do you plan to stay ahead? Let me know in the comments below, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say. If you found this video interesting, check out this one where I talk about the importance of your website to your business. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.